Good evening and welcome to the January meeting of the Ann Arbor Zoning Board of Appeals, the ZBA. My name is Todd Grant. I'm taking the place of Candace Briere. I am the Vice Chairman of the ZBA. The ZBA is a 9-person volunteer board of Ann Arbor residents who are nominated by the mayor and approved by City Council. We have 3 applications tonight. And for each application, we'll proceed as follows. First, we will hear from city staff, planning services in the person of the city's zoning coordinator, John Barrett, who's to my left. And then the applicant or its representative will make their presentation supplementing their paper application. Applicants will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. Public comments are available in person or remotely. We will first call on individuals present to address the board and then remote participants. We may have a problem tonight, however. John Barrett will talk about it more. This ZBA meeting is being broadcast on CTN Cable Channel 16, ATT Channel 96, and online at a2gov.org/watchctn. We may have some difficulty with people calling in tonight, and John Barrett will explain how to get around that. For people here in the audience or calling in, you will have 3 minutes to speak. We will then acknowledge written letters and online email submittals, and then the public commentary will be closed. We will then discuss the application among ourselves, and we will prepare a motion which will then be voted on. In order to approve an applicant's request, 5 yes votes must be achieved. If there are fewer than 5, the application is denied. People who are unhappy about the denial can then appeal timely to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court. So we've called to order. Let me do a roll call. And for people who are here, Candace Briere is absent. Dharma Ackman?
Here.
Sadira Clark?
Here.
Mike Daniel? Dave DeVarty?
DeVarty here.
Christina Glusak?
Here.
I am obviously here. Todd Grant, I am here. Chris Madigan?
Here.
Grace Whitney?
Here.
Good. We have more than 5 people here. We have a quorum. We can proceed. And the first item of business is the approval of tonight's agenda. Do I hear a motion for the approval?
So moved. DeVarty moves it.
All those in favor say yes.
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 Any against? No.
Aye.
All right. Second piece is the approval of the December minutes. First of all, are there any questions or comments on the December minutes?
No, I was going to move the December minutes.
I'm sorry?
Move to approve the December minutes.
Okay. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? No, there's never anybody against. All right. We now move on to, well, first, let me turn it over to John, who may have some instructions for people who want to call in if there are technical difficulties.
Yep, so tonight, anyone calling in for Zoom, we are having technical difficulties. It is being broadcast by CTN and local channel 16 and on YouTube. If you want to call in, please email to planning@a2gov.org. And I'll say that again, planning@a2gov.org. And if you get this email in as soon as possible, staff will get that email to the board members as the applications are being heard. So with that being said, we can move forward to our first petition this evening, which is...
The first petition is ZBA number 23-0034, 421 Church Street.
All right, thank you. So Rob Fowler, representing the property owner, is requesting relief from section 5.32.2, non-conforming structure, to construct a 3rd story with dormers on the existing non-conforming rental building. The residence is an existing 4-bedroom unit. The proposed alteration will increase the building to a 6-bedroom with additional bedrooms in the basement and the newly proposed 3rd story. The property is non-conforming for lot area, lot width, and setbacks. The 3rd-story addition will not encroach further into the required setbacks. The property is zoned R4C Multiple Family Dwelling District. The subject property is located on the east side of Church Street near the intersection of Geddes Avenue and Washtenaw Court, directly across the street from the University of Michigan College of Pharmacy and Central Campus. The home was built in approximately 1900 and is 1,268 square feet in size. The home is currently being used as a certified student rental. The first floor of the residence will receive a remodel that will include the removal of the existing bedroom being replaced with a dining room and the relocation of the existing bathroom. The second floor currently has 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The renovation will remove a bedroom and add a bathroom to the second floor. The new 3rd floor construction will create 2 new bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The basement renovation will create 2 new bedrooms and 2 bathrooms as well. The total bedroom count will increase to 6 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms. The occupant load shall not exceed 6 unrelated persons for the structure. If you'll turn your attention to the monitor, you see the first slide is the zoning map. You see the highlighted parcel in the center. Kind of looks like home plate in baseball. And you see how it's, let me get my, there we go. Having trouble with the cursor. I don't know why there. Anyway. The next slide is the location map. You see the existing highlighted parcel in the center of your screen and its surrounding neighborhoods and existing conditions and the university campus to the west. This is the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application, and you see its current configuration. The next slide is showing the newly proposed first floor. Like I said, there won't be any bedrooms on this floor. There's going to be a living room, a dining room, and a kitchen, and the bathroom. Next slide shows the new second floor with the 2 bedrooms and the 2 baths. And the new 3rd floor with the dormers is going to have bedrooms 3 and 4 with 2 bathrooms. And the next slide is the newly proposed basement, creating new habitable space with the 2 bedrooms and the 2 baths in the basement. These are the existing elevations from the east and north that were submitted with the application. You see how they're currently existing. And the west and the south. And these are the new proposed elevations. You see the new dormer and on the top of the 3rd floor and the proposed changes. And the west and south elevations with this new dormer on top. These are the photos that I took on my inspection at the property. You see this is from the west elevation of the front, directly from Church Street. And this is looking down the north elevation, north side of the house. This is the south elevation, south side of the house with the driveway going to the backyard. This is looking along the south elevation to the abutting properties. This is looking directly at the rear of the home, the east elevation. And this is looking at the backyard and between the 2 structures. As you can see, these homes in this area are student rentals, and they're very close in proximity to one another. That concludes my presentation, and I will take any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions for John? All right, seeing none, we now have the applicant's presentation. Mr. Fowler, hello again.
Thank you. So as John said, this is currently a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and we'd like to update it, update the finishes, the windows, get it more energy efficient, and, maximize our density on this property. It's right in the middle of student housing. This owner owns several of the houses surrounding this, so parking can be joined together to make up for a couple new tenants. And that's about it.
Any questions for Mr. Fowler? All right, see none. Anybody from the audience would like to comment on this? And here comes the difficult part. Is anybody emailed in?
Once again, that email address is planning, planning, at a2, which is the number 2, gov.org, planning@a2gov.org. If anyone has any comments and would like to communicate any correspondence on this petition, please email as soon as you can, and we will do our best to process that email and distribute it to the members of the ZBA.
I do have a question on that.
Yes,
Mr. Fowler, so the basement, those new bedrooms down there will have egress windows?
Yes.
Each of them, and those are going to be new
No, each bed will have its own
egress.
individual window well.
And then, just curious, looking at the structure, what's up in the attic area now? Is there any living space, or is it going to be totally developed as new living space?
The roof pitch is too tight to really have any type of, it's attic space, and that's really
That's
good.
what it looks like. Okay, that's all I asked and wanted to wonder. Thank you.
and I think there were no emails or letters about this
Correct.
application before tonight, correct?
Correct.
Correct, correct. Well, with that, public input is closed, and we're into discussion. I guess there's not much in discussion. Are we ready to do a motion? Or- oh, Dave?
I just want to say that this comes before us as an alteration to a non-conforming structure. The standards for review are not as stringent as if the proposal was a full variance. And it's, doesn't add anything, it doesn't increase the nonconformity at all. It's totally in keeping with the neighborhood, and it's easy for me to support this. I think it easily meets our standards for approval for, as an alteration to a non-conforming structure.
Any other comments? Does somebody want to read a motion?
Sure,
Dave?
I'll make a
Your
motion.
usual role?
Chris can do the next one. ZBA 230034, 421 Church Street, alteration to a non-conforming structure. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from Section 5.32.2, alteration to a non-conforming structure, to allow construction of a third story with dormers on the existing non-conforming rental building. The residence is an existing 4-bedroom unit. The proposed alteration will increase the building to a 6-bedroom with additional bedrooms in the basement and the newly proposed third story. The alteration is to be built per the submitted plans.
Support. And now we're ready to call for a vote. I vote yes. Chris?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
Sadira?
Yes.
Dharma?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
And Christina?
Yes.
7-0, the application passes. We're on to the second application tonight, which is ZBA number 23-0036, 421 Benjamin Street. And
All right.
John Barrett.
Once again, Rob Fowler, representing the property owner, is requesting relief from Section 5.32.2, non-conforming structure, in order to construct a third story with dormers on the existing non-conforming rental building. The residence is an existing 4-bedroom unit. The proposed alteration will increase the building to 6 bedrooms with additional bedrooms in the newly proposed third story. The property is non-conforming for lot area, lot width, and side setbacks on the west side of the parcel. The property is zoned R4C, multiple family dwelling district. The subject property is located on the north side of Benjamin Street between South Division Street and Sybil Street, due east of El Bell Field. The home was built in 1924 and is approximately 1,238 square feet in size. The home is currently a certified student rental. The first floor of the home will receive a remodel with no new bedrooms being created. The existing second floor has 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. The second floor construction will eliminate a bedroom and a bathroom. Wait a second. Is that right? That's, so, yeah, newly proposed third floor will house 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Excuse me, there is no construction being considered for the basement. Upon completion of the project, the home will contain 6 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms to be utilized by a maximum of 6 unrelated occupants. Sorry about that. The first one, I was confusing the first one with this second one, but this one is not going to have any construction in the basement as opposed to the last one that did. Very confusing, sorry. All right, if you turn your attention to the monitors, the first slide is the zoning map, and you can see the subject parcel in the center of the screen. It's highlighted. And the next slide is the location map, and you see the existing property. It's surrounding the existing conditions and surrounding neighborhoods. And the next slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property on the north side of Benjamin Street. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application, and you see the home and its current configuration in relationship to the property lines. And it's like I stated, it does not meet the side setback for the west side, or lot area, or lot width. The next slide is the newly proposed first floor. You see the living room, dining room, and a bedroom in the rear and the kitchen. Next slide shows the second and third floor plans. You see this second floor has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and the new third floor will have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. These are the new elevations that are being proposed. You see the west and the south elevations. The west one showing the rear of the home. And these are the east and the new north elevations. These are showing the existing east elevation, the existing north elevation, and the existing west and existing south elevations. These are the photos of the subject property when I made my inspection. You can see the front of the house in its current state. This is looking down the shared driveway between the 2 properties on the west side of the home. This is looking in the rear yard at the existing parking lot and surrounding properties to the rear. This is looking directly at the rear elevation of the home. Next slide shows the adjacent property to the west, and this is the adjacent property to the east. That is all I have for this application, and I can take any questions that you may have at this time.
Grace?
This is just a general question. If someone were increasing the nonconformity, they would have to request a variance, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
But this is just an alteration
So these
to
are
the-
all alterations on the
Okay.
interior, but if they were going to do an addition and it didn't meet the setbacks, or they were
Okay.
expanding the nonconformity, then it would require the variance.
Okay, got it.
Any other questions for John? All right, seeing none, Mr. Fowler, you're up.
Can I say ditto?
We hit a home run last time.
And this application was confusing because they both are 421s.
Yeah.
421 Church, 421 Benjamin, and they're basically almost doing the exact same thing. That's why I thought I was reading the wrong piece of paper at first. But I wasn't. It's almost identical staff report.
The more important thing is that you don't get confused, sir, as to what
Yeah,
crew is
the
working.
windows go to the wrong house. So we're trying, the idea is, give these kids a decent, nice size common area. And then we're trying to do bedrooms in the 150 square foot range. So the only way to do that is to go up, because we're trying to compete with high rises, new builds, things like that. And we're, again, right in the heart of student housing. There's plenty of parking in the parking lot behind. So I don't, it's not going to impact the neighborhood.
Any questions? Dave?
So I have a question because of there's kind of midway through, there's the upper floor is kind of perpendicular to the way the front of the building is arrayed. And then you're putting a third floor on. Are you doing anything above in the rear? You've got a one-story.
That's
Are you
kind of
doing-
an old sun porch.
And probably may not have a proper foundation.
If
it was put on years ago.
It's lucky to be standing as is. I mean,
Okay.
we're going to
So
make
you're
that
not-
better.
So you're not doing anything above that? It's just
The foundation, I don't think would carry it, or we'd have to redo it. And as long as we can get our 6 bedrooms and make everything nice, we're gonna fix that up and make it to code
right.
and weather tight,
Un-
and just leave it alone.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
And probably doesn't need to be asked, but I didn't see it in writing in this one. You're not further encroaching on any of the setbacks.
No, I'm
correct?
staying right within the envelope,
Okay.
the building
Thank you,
envelope.
sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody in the audience who wishes to comment on this application? See none. And Courtney, do we have anybody that's emailed in?
I have not received any communications.
Okay. And my understanding is there were no written letters or other email submittals before today either, correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, with that, then the public comment section is closed and we're in discussion. Okay, Dave?
I just want to repeat, and this is primarily for any viewers at home, not just tonight, but when it's in replay. Again, we're considering an alteration to a non-conforming structure. The standards for our approval are not very stringent. The developer is staying within the existing envelope of the building, so no further incursion into any setbacks. Easy one for me to support.
I think it's time for a motion.
I'll do that.
And okay. It's nice that people are taking turns.
The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from Section 5.32.2, alteration to a nonconforming structure, to allow construction of a third story with dormers to existing nonconforming rental building. The residence is an existing 4-bedroom unit. The proposed alteration will increase the building to 6 bedrooms with additional bedrooms in the newly proposed third story. The alteration is to be built per the submitted plans. This motion is very similar to the last one. It is for ZBA 230036, 421 Benjamin Street.
Thank you, Chris. And
I'll support.
ready to, yes, second?
A second, yeah.
Good, thank you. And ready to vote. Dharma?
Yes.
Sadira?
Yes.
Dave?
Tavardi, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Chris?
Yes.
And Grace?
Yes.
So this is also passed 7-0, and the application is approved. Good. Thank you, sir. And now our third and final application for this evening, ZBA 24-0055, 2501 Avant Avenue. John?
The Ranier Sign Group, representing the property owners, are requesting a variance from Table 5.24-4 Residential Zoning District Permanent Signs. The owners are proposing to install 13 illuminated logo signs approximately 35 feet from the ground. The maximum height for wall signs for a multiple-family dwelling district is 10 feet from the ground. The applicants are also seeking to install 2 logo signs on 6 buildings for the development. The sign ordinance allows for 1 wall sign per building. The property is zoned R4B, multiple family dwelling district. The subject property is located on the west side of South Maple Road at the Pauline Boulevard intersection, east of I-94. The property is currently under construction for a new 256-unit townhome complex. The proposed LED illuminated logo signs are 5.83 square feet each to be installed on the 3rd floor peak of the building. The logo signs are a black and white letter A. Each monogram sign is used to identify the 2 main entrances of each building. Each building has 2 sets of 8 rental units. The logo signs are proposed to be installed on buildings 4, 6, 11, 12, 14, and 16. If you turn your attention to the monitors, always something. Stop my share real quick, give me 1 second, I'm having technical difficulties.
Looks cool.
Why it's not working. We'll just go with a split screen for now, I guess. Let me see something. Why is that doing that? There we go. All right. The first screen is the location map. You see the subject property highlighted in green, and you see it between South Maple and I-94. And the next slide is the location map showing surrounding neighborhoods and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo, and you see the site in its current configuration. Most of you are probably familiar with this site, as you know it's under construction. This is the survey that I found for the applicant, and it's the old site plan from 2017 and 2018 from Midwestern Consulting. This is the 5.83 square foot rendering of the proposed logo sign that's going to be installed at each of these buildings, 3rd floor gable, the peak. This is the typical apartment building front. You see the monogram logo A, and this is where they're proposed to be putting it, at the 35-foot mark above the ground. These are the photos I took on my inspection. You see the existing clubhouse from Maple Road. This is one of the buildings that's currently under construction, and you'd see where the proposed logo letters are going to be installed on that 3rd floor peak. This is an overview of photo of the site and its current configuration, and you see, like I said, it's under construction. Another rental building that's under construction or being finished, and you can see the style and development of the building. That concludes my presentation, and I will take any questions that you may have at this time.
Chris?
I'm sorry. So I am looking at this page. right here. So what I'm looking at here is the clubhouse is adjacent to Maple, correct?
Correct.
Where on the site is the, this one that's going 35 feet? It's this building?
No, that's the
it's
clubhouse.
this over here. And what, is this viewable from Maple? Or is it viewable from 94? What is the objective there? And maybe I can wait till
Yeah, that might be a question that's better.
if
for
you
the
guys could
applicant.
address that, where is it actually
The
viewable
objective.
from the height? Is it for, when you guys get to your presentation, if you could just talk about, is it supposed to be viewable from Maple, from 94, from a different road? That would be helpful. So that's all I got.
Dharma.
So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm clear about the variance being requested. I think it's two. One is to have the logo signs, illuminated logo signs at a much higher elevation than is normally allowed. And two is to have two per building instead of one. Correct, John?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what's being requested variance-wise, and I think it's two things.
Correct.
One is the height, and the
Correct.
other is having two per building. And can you clarify for me what makes a sign a sign? Is that a,
The definition of a sign, I don't have it before me. I can go get it in a minute.
just because
but-
I see the argument being made about being able to identify different entrances and entrances, I think, to the building as a need, and I'm just wondering, are there other ways to accomplish that besides a sign that is subject to these variations? Sounds like you might have some ideas.
So, I mean, it qualifies, it meets the sign code definition of our sign ordinance, but it's anything that is used to associate with a business or a product or a home. Anything that draws attention from a public road or a right-of-way, used as an identifying marker.
Like a logo, okay.
A logo,
Okay.
an emblem,
Got it.
a wall sign, a freestanding sign.
Were you here for the sign variance request that we had for the restaurant on
Union
Main
Rec.
Street?
Union Rec is right.
Union Rec. So we had, and staff ultimately determined that not only was the branding part of the sign, but the color around the sign was part of the sign, and ultimately was too big. So I think that the general interpretation can include the coloring as branding as well. But also, if it's just for identification of entrances and exits and wayfinding and stuff, I'm certain that our ordinance has directional signage, which is typically if you're under a certain size or exempt from, 4 square feet, whatever, you can say, one way or entrance and exit and stuff like that, that would be exempt from commercial branding.
Dave.
Question for John. So does the illumination of these 35-foot-high logos, is that part of the variance request?
No,
So
no.
it's just the size of them and the height of, or
It's
the
not-
number of them and the height of them?
Correct. And for
Which-
multifamily buildings, they're only allowed to have one wall sign, and so they're proposing two.
It's right, so
And the
that's the
maximum-
number.
Yep,
then
and the maximum height is 10 feet.
But so the illumination, which,
That will have to-
we
that-
don't have any regulations
Yeah,
about
we do.
whether they're illuminated.
We do. That will have to comply with the sign illumination part of the code.
Okay.
I just want to say also, if there are callers, please, we're having technical difficulties, please email your comments at planning@a2gov.org, and we'll do our best to address those.
Grace.
So I'm just kind of unclear, the sign, when there's two per building, it's one like up on that peak there and then like on the reverse side? Is that what I'm understanding right? Like where is the second sign per building?
They're going to, well, I'll let the applicant say where they're proposing to do that. But
Okay.
it's in your packet too, on the building.
That's what I'm
There
just kind
should
of
be
confused by.
just shown on the building. If not, I think the applicant has additional
one.
information for you.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's,
we definitely have one elevation. I think, is it just the reverse?
is it
our
just on the
question,
other
or the
side?
one
Yeah,
we-
that's my
No, I believe there's going to be one on each face. So I think that drawing might
Okay.
need to be revised. There'd be two on each face, and one on the left and one on the right. But I think that's just an example of how it would be placed on there.
Oh, okay. Do you have, I have another question, maybe follow up on
Maybe let them.
I'm still
let the
confused, but
applicant-
I'll let
that.
them.
Yeah. And then, John, how many buildings total are there?
For
So
the
this-
property,
Yeah, so the sign approach is being applied,
Hang on, sir, you'll have,
because this is just a partial site plan we have,
Yeah,
but
so the total illuminated would be 13. They're asking for 13 signs.
okay, yeah.
they're installing 13 signs, but they're going to have these additional 2 on 6 buildings.
Oh, okay. Okay, and each one is this exact same design?
Yes, they're all
Yeah.
5.83
Yeah.
square feet, the same.
And they're all illuminated?
Yep.
Okay.
so, I have a question, John, but I think it's piggybacking on Christina's. I'm a little confused. So we have 13 logo signs that are illuminated 35 feet up, and they're the letter A, and they're 30 inches tall and 28 inches wide, and that's 13 of them. But then there are also 12 monogram signs that are not illuminated. Are they the same shape, the same letter? or-
No, the 13 are all the A monogram signs.
Oh, so what are the
They're all-
logos? Are there
That is the logo. It's a logo or monogram.
So we're
same-
not
same
talking
thing.
25 signs, we're only talking 13?
Correct.
Because that was a little confusing, the way I misread the first paragraph. Okay, so they're just 13 signs.
That's the sign right there. They're wanting to
No,
install
okay.
13 of those.
Got it. And no other sign, just 13 of these?
Correct.
Okay, and are they all 35 feet up?
Correct, yes.
Okay, good. I'm making it way more complex than I need to do. Good, thank you. Dave?
One more question for John. So if these A signs, which the petitioner is arguing are for identifying the entrance, location of entrances, were down above the entrance doors, so down just above the first floor and below the second floor windows, I'm looking at the thing, they would comply with our code in terms of height?
Yes, if they didn't exceed 10 feet in height. Yep.
So that, it's just that they're way up at the top of the peak of the building as opposed to lower down. Okay, thank you.
That's correct.
But they're also asking in excess of what they're allowed
That's correct.
number of signs.
Right, the number, I'm just asking about the height issue,
So two.
and I understand the number is another issue.
Any other questions for John? Okay, I guess we're ready to hear from the applicant, sir. And state your name, please, and sign in.
Yes. Mike Inger, I'm from Printnology. We are the sign manufacturer.
Mike Inger,
Inger, E-N-G-E-R-E-R.
thank you.
If I may, I don't know if you had a chance to see this drawing yet? As far as the logos?
I don't think that one is in the packet.
Is that so you can see it, so you can see the size of the buildings and where we're proposing?
Oh, so this is all one building?
That's all one
and then
building,
two
correct.
signs per building. Okay, that
That's-
makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Building forefront, but there's.
Not only
six.
is that something that depicts the entry, there's, I don't know if you can go back to one of the slides that had all the side view looking down. This is one,
drawing?
or if you go to the, no, forward, I'm sorry. It was the one where we were looking up the side of the building, right there. If you took a look at that, and you wouldn't know what door would be the main entrance for your common entries versus your private entries. So, oh. But anyhow, there's so many doors going down. There's a lot of private entrances for the people that are on the first floor that have their apartments there. Then the common entrance, if you will, that goes in, there's stairs and all that to go to the multiple floors. So that, the whole idea is to mark that so that they can see where they go.
Yep.
Also, It also follows the concepts of other buildings that have been built in the same concepts that have been done for those.
Oh, I see.
This is Uptown Square in Troy. And all the buildings there have two on each one that show that same entrance. These particular ones that I'm showing in the pictures are down in the lower corners versus in the center of the buildings.
So, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So this example that you just sent up, the sign, what is it aligned with? It's supposed to, yeah, but,
The entrance is on, like, it's visible.
yeah, but it's
I
not,
guess.
so it's centered, it's not centered.
They're centered
it's
in the
not right
gables,
over- yeah,
and
centered in
below the gable areas are where the main entrances are.
With the concrete pad out there.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
the
okay.
ones in the corners are a little bit different, but
Oh,
it
I see
still
what you're
shows that the main entrances go into the corners.
Yeah. But there's no distinction between building to building, they're all As. I mean,
Correct.
so it's not emergency. And the reasoning why you're applying for this variance is for emergency personnel to go to one entrance that's marked with the A, but they're all marked A. There's no distinction between building from building, building to building.
It's the main entrance.
So there
It's what?
are,
So if you had a lot of doors, some
Yeah.
doors go directly into an apartment, that
I
would be your
understand
apartment.
that, yeah. Okay,
Grace?
yeah. So if I'm understanding right, the purpose is more to distinguish that
other
main
example.
door that goes in and is access for the upper floors
Correct.
from the first floor residences that have the doors directly
Correct.
open. Okay, okay. That makes sense.
Sadira?
I think the presentation is pretty much what it is. It's, it's to help you have people come over so they know what door to go to. It's, it's,
Is there also wayfinding signage on the building for emergency personnel, like reflective building number signs or something? Because I would think it'd be rather confusing if, they
building
say we're
numbers are
at
on the end,
the
yes.
entry A. So then this is kind of branding then, because there's architectural features that could be used in place of just putting the branding on top. And so if the building's already identified by a number on the side, you said?
I mean, we could still apply for having one logo on the building if that was the purpose of just having an identifier or a logo, if you will. But we're actually trying to accomplish the entries and to match what we've done in the past.
Could architectural features be used instead of signage in this case, like to show the entryways, like using placemaking features like an overhang or something to distinguish the entryway that maybe is a little more architectural value?
There are multiple overhangs that are already there.
Okay, so then it's not necessary to have the branding because there's already something that shows, I guess I'm just kind of confused on the purpose.
There's
of-
awnings over the private entrances as well as the common entrance. They
Okay.
look similar, that's the
but
point.
it doesn't, sounds like it doesn't distinguish between a common entry and a individual. I mean, there's canopies, is there any distinction with the design?
Not
of
within the
canopy?
canopies, no.
Right. Is that what you're trying to get?
Yeah, there's nothing that says, other
Yeah.
than on the front door, there's going to be an apartment number.
I guess it was
On
just
the common entry, or on the private entrances.
making sure that there'd be clear, I guess, signage that,
The addresses.
yeah, that shows where the
But
entry is.
each apartment has an address.
Gotcha.
Chris?
Okay. So I want to ask, so we have a series of standards which are different than the previous two votes we took. So my question to you specifically is, what is the hardship that this property presents that requires you to go above the number of signs that are allowed and the height that they're allowed? And so I'm not interested in the way the buildings are designed. Right, that was a decision that the developer made. So what I'm curious about is, what does the property itself, what are the hardships that exist that require you to go above that number and above that height?
The one that I would just say is just for identifying to help people get to where they're going.
Thank you.
Dave?
I'm looking at the piece that you presented to us, and what I'm seeing is architectural features that already distinguish that middle entry. A higher peak with a little bit different sloping than the other peaks, and a bigger awning above the door. I'm just wondering why you couldn't bring in a logo that meets our code at 10 feet as another way to identify that entry. So that's where I have trouble, and we've received comments from nearby residents about these illuminated lights 35 feet up, high up in the building, which do have some, those arguments really carry some weight with me. And I'm just wondering why you couldn't just put that A, is there anything preventing you from putting that A down at the, where that lower awning is?
Nothing really preventing it, other than the fact that we're trying to find to define our symmetry between all the different buildings that we've done.
So it's
different
really
locations.
to be similar to this other one you've shown us in
That one's in Troy.
Uptown Square. You want this to look like that, and that's in another community, so you're trying to have this consistent logo look. Well, they may not have our sign ordinance.
Okay.
So that's something you can do there, but if you can accomplish the goal of identifying that entrance by complying with our sign ordinance and having the logo at a lower height, I just don't see why you can't do that.
Okay, then the question will come to, will we be able to do two of them?
I have less problem with that because there are two entrances on the building.
Okay.
So I have less problem with that, but I'll wait to hear discussion from the rest of the members of the
Okay.
zoning board on that.
Now, there's also a lighting ordinance that's here as well, that everything has to be turned off at a certain time. So it's not like these burn all night, and they're not real bright anyways. They're black-faced light. They're black-faced. So the light coming through them isn't like bright white light.
Any other questions? Sir, I have a couple for clarification.
Sure.
So I think you said, one of the letters we got that is in opposition to this said, well, are people forgetting where they live? That's, to me, not really the issue. The issue I think you do a good job on is describing what happens when fire or emergency shows up. They need to be able to identify the buildings. And I want to make sure that I heard you correctly. I think you said that there are are these apartments or condos?
These are apartments.
That there are individual apartments that have doorways on the first floor,
Correct.
so they're in line with ones that are entrance to ones above the first floor.
Correct.
So that's really the confusion.
Correct.
Okay. So as Sadira recommended, the concern really is what makes sense in terms of wayfinding. In my thinkings, for fire, police, ambulance coming in, not knowing what building is what, they would be able to identify the common buildings from the individual apartments. But the apartments are also numbered, right?
Correct.
Would they see, if it says go to number 246, what would they do? Is there some number that says what apartment numbers are in what part of the building?
Yeah, on the private entrance ones, they have an actual plaque that are on each door with its apartment number. The interior ones that are common entrance, you go in and they're on the doors on the interior. But we put vinyl lettering on the outside that just show apartment numbers.
So an ambulance coming in or fire, they would need to know a rough idea in the row of entrances where that number apartment is. They wouldn't be able to see it from the street, correct?
Correct.
Well, shouldn't that be part of a wayfinding solution too?
We have
It's not
multiple
just this-
wayfinding solutions, and there's also a package that goes to the fire department that has everything.
Obviously, correct.
Yes.
Because they know the guy.
Yes.
So my other question is, I assume that the size of the logo, if you assume placement up top, that dictates a larger size than if it's placed 10 feet. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, we kept it within the conformity of having one sign.
But if
So-
it's up, am I correct in saying it would have to be a little larger than if it were 10 feet?
Yeah, that type of sign at that size is pretty much put lighting elements in it to keep them dimmer, it's, the depth of it's what really matters.
Okay. And
So
would you-
it's not really the size of it.
And would you state again what the lighting is going to be on these?
LED.
It-
But it has the signs look black because there's a mesh on the front of them. So at night, only a percentage of the light is coming through.
Okay, all right. I don't have any more questions. Dave?
So the acting chair raised some issues about the addressing and the apartment numbers. So this building has two entrances. Is that two different street addresses? Not the apartment numbers, but the street addresses on.
I believe they're
on-
done by address and building number?
It's a single address for the entire
Building.
building, and then unit numbers for all the units.
Yes.
Sir, could you come up and put your name on the record so we have a record of...
So.
Not trying to put you on the spot here, I just want to make sure we
So
have your name.
where on this does the street address go?
Dave, could you wait for the gentleman to
Sure,
identify himself
certainly.
first? Your name, sir?
My name is Peter Camp.
Thank you.
So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking the street address can go at the common entry on both of these, and that would be a distinguishing feature from those other first-floor apartments. Additionally, those awnings, which are wider, they're already visually different, could be raised a little bit. I'm not an architect, but these are simple things that I can see that create, distinguish what the common entry is as distinct from those first floor single apartment entries. And the A could be down there where that wider awning is. And that would be another distinguishing feature of that common entry to the multiple units upstairs. So I'm looking at easily there are architectural solutions to meet the needs that you've addressed for identifying those as the common entries. So I just want to put that on the record that I see alternative ways to accomplish your goals.
From our intent in terms of that logo sign and where that would sit, I mean, this is a great example of this picture that you're sharing. If I'm a resident or I'm a guest of the resident or emergency personnel, I pull in and I look at this building, I have 6 gables. Now, 2 of the gables are a little more prominent, and that's where we want to put the logo. But there's 6 of them, and at the ground level, I have individual entries where people can walk in right into their unit. But those 2 cores where we want to signify these lit logos are the common cores that feed those. We have 8 units up there. So it's just a way for us from the street. So if you're driving up and if we were to accentuate the canopy at the canopy level, you know, sometimes there's trucks there, or there might be something in the way. We just thought putting up in the gable might be a little more distinctive way to, you know, emphasize where that common entry is for residents or guests or emergency personnel. That was sort of the thought of why we liked it up there. I think the other thing to point out, we have 18 buildings in this community. We have 7 of them that have this sort of flats feature. So the other buildings are all townhomes. They don't have this logo on them. They have individual entries that are lit. But for these flat buildings, we were trying to figure out how do we distinguish for residents, guests, and personnel, you know, where that common core is. And this was sort of idea. We wanted to make sure it was up. And I think the other thing to point out is these buildings all face towards each other, towards the end center of the community. None of these buildings face out towards our neighbor to the south of us or to the east of us. So, you know, in that sense, we try to at least keep it, you know, some of this internal wayfinding and enunciating where the common entry is, you know, internal to the community.
Christina?
Sure. Has this been reviewed by the fire department, and what were their comments to, because usually, I mean, they would have strong feelings for navigating a site, so it wouldn't come to us to determine if something is meeting I mean, we shouldn't be the authority to get in the way
The
of
fire department,
emergency personnel.
I've had communication with Marshall Redmond, and, you know, he just, his thing is that all he cares about is that the front of the windows have the apartment numbers on them, and the ends have the buildings. So I've already had that discussion with him.
Sir, could you elaborate on that? So each apartment window has a big number on it?
No, not a window, the main entry, all the doors have their own number on them for what the
Correct. So
apartment number is.
if you go in a,
I
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to interject too. I had the same conversation with the fire marshal, and he said the same thing. He said what they will use is they will be looking for the address above the doors to identify the buildings. So he said he was neutral. He said he wasn't for this or against these logos. They won't be
Correct.
using them. They have a GPS system from dispatch in their trucks, and they're use that GPS to get to the building based on that GPS. So these won't be used. It's not going to be, it's not what they're going to be using to identify these buildings.
So let me ask a follow-up question for pedestrians or guests who've never been here. How are they going to find which part of the large building is where their friend or, you know, whatever, do they have to go down a series of doors? Or is it-
Somewhat, or easiest way, I know that out in Troy, it's, you know, we're in building 4, we're at the second envelope.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it always, I'm
It's-
familiar with things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
having worked in a bunch of Detroit suburbs, it always seems to me that it would be helpful if there were a little metal post out there. For example, when you go to Domino Farms, they always say, you know, Building G, Building H, so you know where it is, as opposed to having to go down the entire thing and hoping you luck out the first time. So I realize that's part of wayfinding, not here, but it's, anything else you want to say? Any other questions?
I had one more question. So
Oh, yeah.
to lower the sign, was that looked at? I mean, was that drawn to see if it fits within the zone above the canopy and below the window? At
I
the
have
second
not drawn
floor?
it out that way, no.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to, ma'am, please, you've been sitting here patiently through the other two applications. Please come up to the lectern and I say your name and write your name, please.
Yes, my name is Joanne Pollock, and I'll write it down.
Ms. Pollock, you have 3 minutes.
Okay,
Our
thank you.
questions don't count. We may extend your 3 minutes.
All right, good enough. One of the reasons, I'm here to object to that signage height. For one thing, nobody here has mentioned that those buildings are located on probably the highest part of Ann Arbor. I live in Summit View, which is slightly to the north of it, right across the street from the church there. And we changed our name to Summit View because that is the highest part of Ann Arbor. Then you go and put signs up 35 feet above that. You have a big complex where I live, and you have another big complex to the south of it, Surrey Park. And both of us will have those signs shining in our windows. I speak about this because one day there was a car coming down down the drive from the complex, and excuse me, the lights from that car shone in my third-floor apartment window, which faces Maple. Now, I see no reason why they can't have them lower down, because there are 2 complexes on either side of that complex, which are going to be affected by all this light. And I understand, too, that as time goes on, there will probably be commercial buildings within that complex. And will those commercial buildings also have signage on them, which is going to create more light pollution for all of us? I forgot the sign size. You said it was 30 by, what was it?
28, ma'am,
30
20
by-
inches by 30.
By 28, okay. And I object to it because, and several of us object to this, I actually spoke with the board, our board president today, and...
1 minute remaining.
Pardon? 1 minute remaining, thank you. And one of the things we like about our area is that it was zoned residential, and this is residential, and we don't want it to look like a commercial structure with signage on all over the place, signage and proposed commercial buildings as well. And I guess that's pretty much where I stand on this. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Pollock? Oh, right. Has anybody emailed in?
Actually, to have one person email me in support of the project. They said, appreciate the discussion. We live across the street and join the meeting against the proposal. Now that we understand, we are not against the 35 feet and 2 signs.
What was is there a name?
There's not a name, it's just an email address.
Well, I note that we did receive 2 communications, one from a J.W. Belle Isle against the project and against the signage, and one from Mr. Frankie Hank, also against the project, the signage, against the signage. And that, I think, our public comments are closed, and we're in discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Donna, sorry.
Yeah.
Higher.
So I'm not inclined to support this. I think that it's primarily a branding exercise. I think if there's any wayfinding problems, it's a problem of their own doing. They can figure out other ways. And I can understand not wanting kind of a hotel look if I'm living nearby. So I won't support this.
Dave?
I think I've made my feelings clear with my questioning. I think there are alternative ways to do this and meet our sign standards, so I'll be voting against it.
Sudhir, is your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay, for my visual, it needs to be higher, sorry.
Gotcha.
Old eyes here.
Will do. Yeah, so I won't be supporting this for same reasons. And I just want to throw out there too, that distinguishing like the apartments with the branding as opposed to like other housing types is another just kind of strike against it for me.
Grace, is your hand up, or is? No, okay. I'm getting nervous here. Anytime I see a hand lifted off the desk. Okay. Any other? Okay. Well, a motion, please.
Sorry, I was trying to recruit a new motion maker.
We should have a motion reading special meeting, perhaps, too.
Okay, so I'll be happy to make the motion. ZBA 23-0035, 2501 Avant Avenue. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a variance from Table 5.24-4 residential zoning district signs to allow 13 illuminated logo signs 35 feet from the ground when a maximum of 10 feet in height is what is permitted. The variance also allows the installation of 2 logo signs on 6 buildings when the ordinance allows for 1 wall sign per building. The signs are to be installed per the application.
Support.
Support, good, all right. And ready for the voting? Chris?
No.
Grace?
No.
Dharma?
No.
Sadira,
No.
Dave,
DeVarty, no.
Christina,
No.
and I also vote no. Sorry, sir, your application is denied. All right, that concludes the applicants for tonight. Now we're on to unfinished business. Any unfinished business?
We didn't have any.
Yep. Hearing none, we're on to new business.
So
And
I have some new business to present to the board. We have a decision to make this evening. I was notified about 2 weeks ago that the IT department will be making modifications and changes to this room, lots of technology upgrades. And so this room will be shut down the last 2 weeks of April. And so we have two options before us. We can cancel, you can cancel, I don't have that authority, that's why I'm bringing it to you. You can vote to cancel the April meeting, or we can have it in an alternative location, which would be most likely in the basement, basically where we had the retreat, or last summer. It does present some challenges based on the size of the room. It's kind of small. It's only has one monitor, and I'm trying to have to work out some alternatives with CTN. So it is going to be a challenge. So either way, you're not going to break my heart, but it's up to you guys. If I had to vote away, I would suggest we might have to cancel April. So, but it's entirely up to you. If you guys want to discuss it, go ahead. If you have any questions.
Dave,
I would argue, we meet once a month, once and only once a month. Developers and builders are reliant on the decisions we make at this meeting for their construction plans. April is right at the beginning of construction season, and I think we have an obligation to meet if we can. If we met more frequently, I would argue, okay, let's skip a meeting. But if we skip a meeting, then that's like two months between meetings. So I would argue for the meeting. I would also suggest there are other places in the community that CTN is hooked into, like the public library has a space that the Ann Arbor School Board uses. So there are other options for us that would potentially, I know there's some coordination that would have to be done, but, and I think the school board meets on Wednesdays also. But that's just my argument, and I'll go along with what the majority of the board thinks.
Chris.
Yeah, so as someone who goes before CBAs to ask for approval for his job, I don't disagree with Dave. I think the schedule is important. I think I reach a different conclusion. I'd be okay the route of canceling, especially several months in advance, as long as staff felt comfortable that they could, properly advertise that, we need to get certain things in for the March meeting or plan for May. I don't know if that's the website or handouts or what, but I'd feel very comfortable, at this point saying we can't meet here. It's okay to cancel 3 months in advance as long as it's, the people who need to or can be notified or find out when they try to apply.
Grace.
Quick question, our May meeting is moved to the basement, right?
No.
Wasn't one of our meetings has to be down there?
It was
For
the
some reason?
retreat. Sounds like that was the retreat.
I thought one of our meetings this year, the location got changed because Courtney sent out a new invite. Sorry to put you on the spot, but because my question was if that was the May meeting, is there like a date in between? We could like consolidate both of them so you wouldn't have to set up anything in the basement. We could do it up here and then it would kind of be halfway in between-ish. So if people have a deadline they're trying to meet, they could, which I don't expect you to have a day that this meeting room is open off the top of your head, but if you could maybe look into that, I don't know if that's something other people want to consider.
Well, sort of, if I may, I think part of our difficulty, I think, is we don't know what is in the pipeline. If there were to be 4 or 5
Here's what I was going
What
to
is
say. In response to that, and kind of piggybacking off Dave, I will, as a staff, I will do my best to beef up the March and the May agendas to try to accommodate everybody. So just be aware, those two meetings, March and May, are probably going to be longer meetings. You can talk about 6 or 7 applications on each one possibly, so.
Grace was correct. May is in the basement.
That's what I thought. I'm glad I wasn't imagining that. I was like,
No, you're right. Spot.
So it would be two meetings in the basement then, I guess.
Or a joint,
Or-
or early May.
Well, my sense, I don't think we have enough information at this point to call it. I think Dave's comments are well said, that we have a public obligation, but if applicants are understanding and it doesn't affect, as they say, the critical path in a construction project or its approval, then people would understand. But if it is going to impact somebody's critical path, if it's going to increase their construction costs, then, I'm a little concerned about that. We ought to be able to find something to accommodate that. But at this point, maybe we don't know. Maybe the thing to do is to address it next month. Is that possible? And make a final decision then? John, would you have a better idea who's coming through the pipeline a month from now?
Possibly, yes. It's difficult because I'll have some people apply a month out and I'll have other people apply the day it's due.
Well, if we
So-
postpone the decision for a month, would
Yeah, that might help.
is that
us,
enough
yeah.
time to?
Yeah, get some more information, or if I get it even sooner, I can email everybody.
Yeah.
And then maybe you want
So
to send
I-
send a vote back to me through email, I don't know.
Well,
Or
I think we probably should vote
Just
publicly.
publicly, yeah,
My
yeah.
sense is to push this off for a month, when we have a better idea. Dharma?
I don't have any problem pushing the decision off, but I guess I would also say if we've already planned to have a meeting down there, I guess I'm not really seeing, that argument kind of evaporates for me of why we should cancel it, because it has to be in the basement. We already planned to do that for May, so why can't we do it for April?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just so staff could, watch on Wednesday. I think.
1/4 Wednesday.
So I'm getting a sense that the majority of us would like to kick the can down the street for a month and then
Could you, in
readdress
that
it. Is that
time,
right?
like, look into if there's a day we could do like a half between April and May, if there's a day that's,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll
Just so we have that information next month when we're
All right.
making the final decision.
All right.
Okay, so we'll put it on the agenda for next
TBD.
month? It'll be unfinished business.
John Peavy, just confirm that they do need the last couple weeks in April, because
Oh, yeah,
sometimes timelines float
true.
a little bit in and out, too.
They do,
Yeah.
they send an email out, and I
For
think
sure,
they
so-
start construction on April 17th,
I
and
mean,
it goes to
it's-
the end of the month.
Okay, I mean,
Yep.
they're dead set on that?
Yes.
Are
Okay.
they
Yep.
gonna do something about, are we gonna repaint this, or what's the deal?
I have no idea I just heard it's going to be under construction.
Are we gonna have
technology.
less tech problems?
They're going to fix this monitor?
We hope.
No more tech problems?
All right, so
Any other comments on, okay, I guess we're on to, any other communications? Courtney? Or did
No.
somebody raise their hand and I missed it? Dharma. sorry. Maybe you should stand up.
Sorry. As I'm trying to develop a new routine about letting the ZBA know about new zoning changes, City Council on Monday passed the rezoning of the Plymouth corridor to transit-oriented development. That's 53 unique parcels, 107 unique addresses, 197 acres, and that is the third area, I believe, that has been zoned transit-oriented zoning. We also made a change.
What's the cross street? What's from Plymouth Road from what to what?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer offhand to that. Maybe
Okay.
staff does.
Does anybody know?
It's in the materials, but I don't know offhand.
Okay.
what was the question?
What are the endpoints for the Plymouth rezoning to TC1? What are the nearby streets of the start and the end?
Or approximately?
I think it goes out to Green Road
Green
and Plymouth,
from Huron Parkway or
20.
something, or?
or maybe but it extends clearly out to the edge of the city, I think. I may be.
I'll get you that information.
Okay, I'm just out of curiosity.
I'll email everybody that information.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry about that. And then we made a change to the Unified Development Code to allow personal scale solar in front yards and backyards in residential districts. So those were prohibited in the past, and now they are allowed. And that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And there's no one in the audience, so there's no additional public comments. And now we're on to the final item, adjournment. Okay, I see a big rush to adjourn the meeting. I think we're adjourned. Yes, we're adjourned.
We should vote.
Yeah, we should.
Oh, do we vote all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? I don't hear any. We're adjourned. So my